Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier, but now we have everything up and running. Stardate 2015.245-2214. We are joined tonight by Captain TimberWolf, our Chief Logistics Officer. Please lead us off with another howl. Make sure it's not too ear-piercing this time. I said two. Whoa. Whoa, somebody fed you too much kibbles and bits, seriously. Our Chief Logistics Officer, please do not deafen us ever again like that. Please, 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 please. Our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain SarcasmDetector.
What?
You? No. No.
What?
What?
Are we live? I can't hear you guys.
You're supposed to be Grouchy.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Greetings.
Wow. Wow. Really? Wow. That's
Much
just
better.
Awesome. That's awful. That's awful. Like, seriously. No poutine, no nothing. Not working for you? Really? Never mind. Oh, by the way, our Chief Science Officer, Captain Snipey 47 Alpha, is still MIA thanks to the antics of Chief of Cheesy Tactics, Captain SOB. I believe that you didn't want anything else nerfed this week.
Indeed.
He's on a secret mission in the Outback somewhere.
Something. Somehow. We're hoping no kangaroos kidnap him. And our Chief Ironic Medical Officer, Captain MK.
I heal you, my boy.
Ugh, you do some healing while you do deeps. We love it. We enjoy it. And like I said before, I heard that a couple people over in the Reddit STO builds are going to be tapping you for some information later on in a couple builds here. So we'll be featuring them. Yeah, the group is called the Agronauts. So.
Oh yeah, my bros.
Exactly. Computer, please activate the emergency role-playing hologram.
Please state the nature of... it's the New Yorker and the grumpy guy again. Great. Oh, and the one that howls.
Oh my god, it's spreading.
Seriously, man, we need our chief engineer back here just to deal with this. Because I can't fix this. There's no way in hell I can fix this thing. Anyway, going right into the show, as I said before, sorry for the disconnect earlier, but we got the technical difficulties handled. Our Chief Intelligence Officer is very gracious enough to handle business ahead of time, so thank you. Captain TimberWolf, lead us off with some information that you have, please.
All right, just reading chat, just trying to keep up with the volume. They're saying it has been getting a little softer, so I'll continue while we're working on that. We do apologize. We have been trying to work with certain things. However, one thing that I've been working with, we've been doing a lot of interviews of various fleets and individuals, and we've been getting great strides in that. We've been actually really enjoying that, bringing them on not just to interview them, but just to get to know them as people. But there have been a couple of groups we can't bring on because they can't be here during the time we're streaming. I mean, this is a somewhat unique time to stream, at least for some of us on the East Coast. It is kind of late at night. So I went to one of the individuals and I said, look, I know you can't make it here. You've always said you work at night, but if I come to you on your time schedule, would you be willing to do an interview? They agreed. So this Saturday, we are going to do a one-on-one interview with Luke Critter, the one and only Luke Critter. He's been a big fan of the show. He's been plugging the show a lot, but I felt it was necessary. We need to start just getting information on him. What does he do in the game? How long has he been around? Just ask him questions. Just see what he's all about. And the fact that he's fully agreed to it, and we've got it scheduled for this weekend. It's going to be on the show next week. We will either have a link for it or maybe play some audio snippets from it. It's not going to be tremendously long, but I do plan to live stream it at the very least, as well as record it for YouTube. But it's just one of those things that if they can't make it here, or let's say for lack of a better term, some of them feel a little overwhelmed by the roundtable discussion, at the very least give them a secondary option and then that way they're not stuck to one particular group, but still try to, if we can, focus them here to the show. And that's just kind of what I've been working on this week. So far, I'm happy with it. I mean, I've got Luke Critter. You really couldn't ask for a bigger one-on-one interview at the present moment.
Pretty good lead out. Yep.
Nice nail, man. Good job. Managing a couple people over at chat and getting a couple new things coming on here, including some user comments. We're going to go on with the discussion here on what we have as far as the network issues. Now, one thing that a lot of people have been complaining about was being able to log into the game, especially during peak times.
I think it was a login to timeout that a lot of folks were getting.
Oh yeah, especially that. But that's been a problem that's been around for a while, but it just seemed to.
It has many root causes, but yeah, it comes up quite a bit.
Yes. It was just interesting to note, though, that the best source of information that we could actually find about this came from the Neverwinter threads. And it was interesting that we could not see in any way, shape, or form, at least easily visible, if not somewhat hidden because somebody else posted it. It was not easily visible to the rest of the community that visited the forums that here was a status update on what was happening with the network. That could have been communicated a little bit better. And I'm not saying that this is something that the specific devs should deal with, but whoever would handle communication from a general PWE standpoint should have been able to post this throughout all of their different games that they manage and say, look, we understand there's network issues, put a big banner on it, click here to get more information, centralize into one location, be done with it. Just a suggestion for the future, that way people aren't scrambling to figure out what's going on.
Yep, a network status page is a pretty standard thing in a lot of businesses, and seeing one here would be nice.
Good.
With that
said, though, no, you're good, you're good. With that said, though, there is a nice, what's a good word for this? Not necessarily a consolation, but not an appeasement either, but a nice gesture from Cryptic dealing with the CCA event here, the Crystalline event. They've extended the time that you're able to complete the event by what, another week? Next week is the 7th, right? The 7th is when it's over.
Yep.
So, you still have a couple more days to be able to complete the Crystalline event. Thank you, Cryptic, for looking out for the players that were having issues. Please, keep this up. This is wonderful. This is a good gesture on your part. Even though the fault is not your own, you said, you know what, we need to not have this inconvenience, stop other players from enjoying the game. You stepped up to the plate, and you hit a home run. Good job.
Nice to see things done right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Now that we have that fun stuff done with there, we still would like to see something that would centralize messages like this that would affect all of the Perfect World family of games. That way it would help out centralizing this information so we all be able to see, oh, there's a problem with the network for some regions, we'll hang tight and deal with it. Something else that came up as well, the monetization of certain things in this game, specifically the ships. And it seems, and this is just something that I'm looking here at this game and how they're making money, and it seems to be the number one money raker would be ship sales. I don't have the metrics. I don't see what's going on behind closed doors. They have all the sales information, but from an outsider's perspective looking into this, it looks like your biggest money maker would be in ship sales. I could be completely wrong, because it could be a whole bunch of Zen sales for people to buy dilithium so they could upgrade gear or buy keys or whatever, or Space Barbie since it is the epic of this game. But it looks like ship sales are driving your economy. Now, whether that is the case or is not the case, there are some people who have concerns about that, and that you're not that you're focusing all your biggest monetization efforts into one area, space, in the ship. There are other avenues that are looking to see something that would improve not only just the quality of life, but also add more dimension to their gameplay, for whether it be ground or space Barbie, or customization of ship elements. Have something else in there we could, at a reasonable price, have users be able to buy something that would enhance whether the look, for either RP elements or just something to look at nicely when you're done from like a 10-hour shift at work, all the way up to ground combat. They want to be able to see something else, as far as traits that they can purchase or weapons that they could purchase, that would help them enhance their playability on the ground. Gentlemen, any other comments on this?
I believe their main source of income is from key sales and from the ship sales.
Well, remember, those ships take a significant amount of development money, compared to keys, at least.
Yes, well, the key parts are from the actual lock boxes, because they stuff ships into that, 2 or 3 ships. One grand prize ship, and there's usually a lobby ship in there as well, which people, kind of have to buy keys anyways to get in the first place. There's also the promotion packs. I'm sure that the really recent promotion pack that they did, the ongoing one for the Delta Alliance pack, DOF pack, it seems that they're making a mint off of that. Because
as I understand it, the drop chance for the Ukrainian ship is also significantly lower than that from a normal lockbox.
It's 1.1%, which is that's actually what the normal lockboxes are.
It's
I've read some varied reports on triple. I've opened 1,000 or.
The reports I've seen from Tribble seem to indicate that it is pretty much on the money dot, 1.1% chance to actually get a ship. All right, sorry about that, Robert. Let me fix that.
While he's fixing that, yeah, the lockbox keys are essentially like selling an extended warranty in a retail store. Really, you're selling paper at that point. There's no actual physical, like, it didn't take somebody that long to really create the key. Whereas the ships, we've learned firsthand that the developers, Thomas, spends his off hours developing these ships and making them all pretty and revamping the new ships, and that's a lot of time that it's gotta kind of pay for, right? Yeah, no, I think all the money's coming from the ships for sure, especially with the stories that we're hearing about people trying to get the new Krenum Science ship, people dropping like $2,000 trying to get it. Oh my.
It's nice, but not $2,000 nice.
Yeah, that was just a little bit bizarre to me, where they would drop that much money to try and get the ship, and it's like, strike out. But I think with all the material that they got, they should be able to get the ship then, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
Probably 2 if they're lucky, between the lobby and then all the materials that come out of it.
It reasonably make at least some of their money back.
True. All right, moving on here. I believe that a couple of us were checking out some gentlemen at the Foundry roundtable. TimberWolf, what do you have to say about that?
Well, they had already started by the time that I was able to jump on, but the interesting thing was, for the Foundry roundtable, they discuss a lot of the Foundry missions. They're going over the immersion quality and the quality that the people are making them at. But the interesting point, when me and Alan jumped in, was that Pax, our Foundry contest winner, was on the Foundry Roundtable, mentioning our stream that we had done, his mission, the whole 9 yards. And they also happened to notice we were there. I believe at that point it almost was the show bombing of their comments area, considering that I believe 4 or 5 of us were in their live stream chat. But it was very nice to see. It was very nice to be a part of. Just listening to not just packs, but the various missions that are being worked on in Foundry, what's already out there, what they're looking forward to in the future. It's very refreshing to see that much creativity being focused on, even though there wasn't much live turnout. The simple fact that people are working on it regardless is amazing. Alan?
Yeah, totally agree. It was really interesting listening to them come up with different ideas on how to like where to stick a story. For example, they were using Conduit as an example, as like what happens after you destroy the gateway. What kind of story would you go from there? So it was definitely really interesting to listen to. They have some really good points that they make, and they're very knowledgeable about Foundry. I played one of their missions that they were talking about that takes place in New Year's Eve at Starfleet Academy, and there ends up some of the diplomats get kidnapped, and this one guy actually created this more or less like the city of San Francisco, and he actually made the bridge, and so it goes from a big ballroom party to outside to down into the sewers, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with Undyne, and it was a quick, only about 30-45 minutes, but it was the attention to detail and the amount of work that goes into these missions is just phenomenal. So if you guys are ever get the chance to tune into their show, the Foundry Roundtable, I actually think they start about 3 hours before we do, and they're on for about an hour and a half every Wednesday night, with the exception of this one, which happened on Sunday. So yeah, check them out on Twitter. They're the Foundry Roundtable, and I'm sure we'll have their link up below when this is all done.
Yes, we will have the link up below. We had their last episode up here. Just for everybody to see what they have on the screen. I just like this shot right here. They did a good job. And listening to them discuss the story that they're going to put into whatever Foundry mission that they have. I mean, it's like listening to Alternate History Hub meets, a complete analysis of real history, but this is Trek lore itself. And they're going it from 19 different angles. And dealing with, okay, well, this happened here, and these are the implications that will happen elsewhere, and this is how it would affect the design of this foundry. And I was like, wow, okay, you guys just went deep into this one here. And I'm trying to feel like I should be taking notes to try and keep up with what they're discussing here, because this is their storytelling, and they want to make sure they hit every angle of the story, just so they won't have any loopholes or any sort of inconsistencies or discontinuities within the story, so they keep everything as intact as possible. And in some cases, they may even correct canon so that they won't have this glaring loophole in a story. These guys are amazing to the depth of detail that they go in with.
It really seemed like they were a group of writers for one of the TV shows, and they're just bouncing ideas off of each other, trying to write not just the next episode, but the next season altogether, and how they're going to wrap it up. It was incredible to listen to them.
Right. Moving on with that here. Yes, we have our bad news of the hour from multiple areas here. Captain SOB, lead us off, please, because I don't even want to go into this right now.
The recent red shirt patch notes, they've got some pretty nice cheese in them.
Yeah, how about no, and we'll say no.
Well, one of the nice things here is the explosions caused by neutronic torpedoes are now limited to a maximum of 10 targets.
Oh no, Marshall.
Where do I even start with this? Where do I start?
But Odin, there's something good for you.
What?
Mines and targetable torpedoes can once again benefit from chemosite-laced weaponry in attack pattern beta.
Unless they actually extended the duration for chemosite and APB, I don't see how they got the torpedoes and mines to actually keep it unless it's applied to them upon launch and it stays with them throughout the duration of their existence. So they either rewrote something there or they did some sort of code wizardry in order to make that happen. But this is something to be tested, and I might actually do something even crazier than installing Tribble. I'm going to install Redshirt.
Now, one of the really, really crazy things here, I quite like this change. They've removed the restriction that made go down fighting unavailable while the Starship trait Invincible was active. This...
Yeah... No. No.
That's
makes it
pretty interesting.
Yeah,
No.
Makes it quite easy to get a 0 to 1% GDF.
See, if I can just add here, I was expecting them to kind of go the route with adding another toggleable button. So if you were to hit Invincible, then there'd be a 30-second cooldown on GDF and vice versa. That way you can't really use this amount of cheese that they've just introduced into the game.
I think they just fell in love with immunities and they just say, yeah, let's ride with this. Because this is mind-bogglingly crazy. When Board had posted the initial reasons for not having them working in tandem with each other, I was like, yeah, I could see this. Okay, let's change it slightly so that we could either choose one or the other. But otherwise, I agree with it because we don't want this crazy immunity cheese, going on here. There should be a trade-off between being immune or nuking the heck out of somebody.
This is a great change.
Yeah. You being cheese, I can't even use the words I want to use right now. Just go away.
I actually agree with Saw that this is a pretty good change. By the way, just a sound check for people listening on the live stream. Is this volume a little bit better?
Just checking for a couple other folks on there, but we're gonna get some feedback on them with there. So far, some say it's okay. Anyway, back to this here. Go on, SOB.
One of the other very interesting changes that they put out here is resolved issues with a few powers that contained either shield drain or shield healing mechanics. These abilities were being unaffected by resistances and/or buffs. The big one here is the Shield Absorptive Frequency Generator, otherwise known as the Valdor Console.
So now it can be buffed,
Yes.
and it can be debuffed as well.
Yep. So it's a nerf and a buff, you could say?
It's a little bit of both, but
It is.
that's going to be interesting. I think the reason why they did this was because of the upcoming shields that they have on Tribble at the moment, the hyper capacity shields. That
The one that as it gives you bonus damage but drains shield capacity.
yeah, it's an actual toggle. You have to toggle the shield on. Once it toggles, then you get that damage bonus to energy weapons, and it slowly reduces the capacity. And there was talk of
probably a Cat 1 boost as well, which is maybe dubious.
no. We tested it. It's a Cat 2
Category
boost.
2.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
Cat 2?
Yes, it's a very solid Category 2 boost. What it is, it's probably going to also add a debuff to shield healing while it's toggled on. So this is probably why they modified the Valdor console on the other shields.
I'm still mad about the whole neutronic change. I mean, we need to figure out what's going on with this here, because why target that specific torpedo?
Uh-oh.
I mean,
Now,
yeah.
they also pushed out a change to the weekly fleet buff projects. They have fixed the cost. The fleet credit cost has been reduced from 750,000 to 200,000.
Mhm.
But they have not fixed the duration, it appears, yet. So any fleets out there, I would say avoid running these projects until they fix the duration.
That fix is going live tomorrow. The patch notes for tomorrow were just released.
So we have current patch notes for this going up now. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a little bit bummed out about the whole neutronic change here, because it still doesn't make any sense. With tons of AoE abilities in this game, especially Chemosite, why change one torpedo with its AoE ability to where it's only limited to 10 targets, where you have other abilities that are hitting as many targets as you could squeeze in that spot?
A lot of this on Red Shirt is going live tomorrow. One interesting of note that is on Red Shirt as well, I would mention, they've refixed the Borg Assimilate Shield debuff. You know, they fixed it and then it got broken again, I believe, with a rollback or whatever happened. We weren't entirely sure, but you couldn't cleanse it with Tactical Team, so it was constant again. They have apparently been able to refix that. So that goes live along with the hypercapacitor shields on holodeck tomorrow.
Should be interesting. So we will definitely be having some fun with that there.
And with those holodeck patch notes, only the cost is fixed there as well. The duration is still bugged.
So wait, hold on. It's still only going to be about what? 2 days? 1 day?
1 day.
1 day. So you pay all those resources for a 1 day buff.
Correct.
Nice. Okay. Well, it's something to report to the QA team when they have that going up on there, and they were actually taking more user submissions. In the meantime, if you see a bug over there, please report it to the forums in the proper location, aka the bug forums, and also put it somewhere else so that other people can see it as well. Sarcasm cannot hear you right now. Other people can. Yeah, nah, he could. Everybody can hear Cam? Nope. Nope, we can't hear him. Change your Hangout settings over there. Sorry, folks, for the technical difficulties. We've been trying a couple different things simultaneously, and it's been kind of funky here. So,
Do I have time to mention 2 more patch notes that kind of stand out to me at the moment?
please do.
Well, one, and I happen to know a lot of players are probably still using this. This is near the bottom, near the character patch notes. It says resolved an issue that was giving the crystalline refraction ability from the Nukar shields to be applied to the player's primary ship when the shield is equipped to the slotted shuttle. So basically, they fixed that. A lot of players were using that. It didn't really do much as far as your damage output, but it was a bug that was around for a long time. Apparently they fixed that. And it looks like they've added a counter to structural integrity collapse. It can be removed by using engineering team. So I'm assuming that is a PvP answer to that specific ability.
Well, it's nice to do that, but then they changed Invincible to be used with Go Down Fighting, so lay out.
Check. 1 2 1 2.
Now you're back. Welcome back.
Okay. So it shows me as muted.
Nevertheless, you live.
Huh, all right, that is really odd. So the icon for that is messed up. Did you guys talk about the subspace vortex yet?
Ooh, we're going to touch on
yet.
that one too.
Oh, that's the one
Yes.
I am looking forward to.
Yes, the subspace vortex no longer shares a cooldown category with Gravity Well and Titan's Rift, but also no longer benefits from deflector ability cooldown duty officers.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, so in other words, Subspace Vortex is now its own independent thing. Live long and prosper.
Oh, it is absolutely great. Throwing out a gravity well and then following it up with the subspace vortex. It is going to be absolutely glorious. Before if I was running the subspace vortex, I would have to rely on someone else's grav well, and now I can use my own.
I'm still. Neutronic. Why? Please, board. We posted it. Why?
It's you.
Why?
I'm saying it's you.
It can't be me. It can't be me.
It's you. I'm
a casual player. I just want to enjoy the game.
Right.
Oh, cry. What's next? All torpedo damage cut down by 50%. Oh wait, sorry, I'm done. Anyway, speaking of torpedoes and other bugs, S.A. Ross was so kind enough to show us a nice little bug here in a poor attempt to troll me, where he was able to equip all of his ship weapon slots with the anti-proton spirit bomb, or the APSB, or what we like to call the big red ball of pew-pews. Yeah.
The torpedo?
It's not the torpedo, whatever. It's anti-proton ball of energy. All right?
The torpedo, yeah.
Yeah, okay, right, whatever. The thing that double dips. The thing that double dips from everything, it has no drawbacks. That includes no feedback pulse. It benefits from both torpedo skills and energy weapon skills. It gets a boost from your weapon power. Emergency power to weapons obviously boosts it because it's all weapon damage, boosts all, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Concentrate firepower works with it, even though it's not kinetic damage. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, that thing. That bastardization that they call a torpedo, but really isn't. Yes.
And I'll answer a comment with this. Warlick in the comments is wondering how he did that. It's part of the old loadout bug that apparently is still in the game after all this time, and it has to do with basically, in a way, it's not necessarily cloning the device at this point. It's more of, it's a way where he can claim one, switch it to another ship, and then claim another one, and the game is not recognizing that he already has one claimed. So he can rinse and repeat until he can have more or less all his ships with all these torpedoes. And then the extra that made Odin just really upset is there was no shared cooldown or global cooldown on these torpedoes. It was almost to the point, from what Scott was telling me, of firing beam arrays, except they're torpedoes.
Oh, that is...
So it was...
Yeah, I couldn't say that without getting a little bit of fake angry at this, okay?
That's why I wanted to say it. It was so... It made us all facepalm when we first saw it, because literally you would see salvo after salvo of torpedoes with no cooldowns of any kind, hardly. So you'd see about 30 or 40 torpedoes going at the cube at the beginning of an ISA. Yeah, it was a headache.
Which the kinetic community will not stand for this one bit. Not one bit. We know you can test the cooldown.
Suffice to say, the troll lasted all of about, I want to say, an hour? Yes. And then I decided I put it on the forums for the bug bashers.
Yes, thank you very much. But you know what? It does lead us to one nice little piece of insight, that they can remove the shared global cooldown for the torpedo weapon. So instead of having to hit, fire, and then wait, and then fire again, you can actually do a constant stream of torpedoes if you coded it to do so. So the capability is there. Thank you very much, S.A. Ross and TimberWolf, for giving us that one piece of insight in an otherwise asinine display of trolling. Thank you.
Yeah. They should remove that. The shared cooldown for the torpedoes, that has absolutely there's no point in that. I don't see why it's there in the first place.
it's to prevent us from rapid firing torpedoes, one after the other, because they're OP. Right?
Right.
Right?
Right. That's what you did there.
Yeah. Well, all right, but before we jump into a couple other things here with the other red shirt changes, including a nice new treat that we all got to toy around with, I want to actually bump up something here quick. Speaking on weapons, could you give us a little bit of information here, our Chief Intelligence Officer, on what we can actually do with cannons now that I was already switching over to the Gunship Guild to offer them some support? Please tell the Gunship Guild some good news.
Well, this has always been possible. It's just people. I think the problem with some people in the game is they know 1 + 1 = 2, and they know 2 + 2 = 4, but they can't figure out 1 + 3 = 4. So I did a video not too long ago. You guys know what EPS is, DPS, describing how EPS and overcapping works with beam weapons. So the main difference here between beams and cannons is their firing cycle. This is the main reason why people say, in quotation marks, you cannot overcap with cannons or dual cannons. The issue is that you can overcap with dual cannons and dual heavy cannons. If you decide to overcap in the same way as you would with beams, you need a crazy amount of EPS. We're talking EPS in the 60 plus range to actually be somewhat effective. Actually, for normal dual cannons, you probably want like 30 to 40, which is achievable by a certain type of captain, and those would be the engineers. But tactical captains and science captains need not apply. For the dual heavy cannons, yeah, you want something like 50, 60, 70 PTR to actually overcap. Now, there's one thing, and I'm sure you guys probably didn't even think about it. You watched my video and you didn't connect it, is that there are ways to mitigate your weapon power drain. So one of the things you use to control is, of course, the power transfer rate. You get power going back into the system at a certain rate. But there are other forms to mitigate, and that is reducing the cost of the weapons. And there's two ways to do that. You either use certain traits like emergency weapon cycle and greedy emitters to reduce the cost of the weapons, or you use certain things like the Mariendoff to reduce the weapon drain directly on the weapon subsystem. Now, there is a class of captain called the engineer, which have a specific power called Nadion inversion. For those of you who don't know what Nadion inversion does, it does exactly the same thing as the Mariendoff, the proc from the Mariendoff. Now, here's the thing about the Mariendoff. It only lasts for 8 seconds, and people pay through the teeth for it. It's one of the most expensive DOFs out there. Recently, they released some alternatives, so it's gone down in price. Here's the thing about Nadion inversion. It lasts for a full 30 seconds. So you have people paying, what, 50 to 100 million EC plus for an 8-second buff, and engineers can get it for free, and it lasts for 30 seconds. With all hands on deck, you can fire that thing off once every minute. So there's other things. So what you want to do with dual heavy cannons, actually, you know what? Forget the dual heavy cannons. They are worthless. What's better right now in the meta is dual cannons. They are actually better than dual heavy cannons because of certain bugs. You reduce the cost of the weapons with either or greedy emitters and emergency weapon cycle. and you roll a engineering captain, and you run Nadion inversion. Of course, you run the two-piece assimilated set, the cutting beam and the assimilated module, which greatly helps out as well because that procs per shot. And of course, you can run the Mariendoff. Anything that reduces the cost of your weapon thing stacks. So Marion stacks with the Nadion inversion. There's some diminishing returns there, but it's fine. Actually, you can actually stack Marions if you can afford to. That is the way to go about overcapping your cannons. And unfortunately, it's an engineer-only thing. Engineers, ironically, are the ones best suited to fly dual cannons.
Well, now, engineers actually get a secret DPS effect for them when they're flying cannons. Although the Gunship Guild would still like to fly the DHCs because cannon.
Yeah, but a lot of the tanks are running NGs right now, which means that becomes a viable way of dealing damage for them and thereby pulling aggro.
Well, yeah, they can, but the drop-off range is still the number one issue with it whenever they want to do damage or pull aggro. You know, you're firing outside of 5 clicks and forget it. You might as well be throwing pea shooters at them. Or just strap on one of the folks from DPS ground and, just have them suit up on their spacesuit and start shooting with their guns. They'll do more damage.
That is the existential problem with cannons right now, and it's something that would be fantastic to see balanced very soon.
Very true. And besides, the cannons will definitely need a buff, especially with range, when we see the new content that's coming out. Which leads us to Alan, our emergency role-playing hologram, who's going to be pulling out some stops here and tell us, what is this new map that we're dealing with, and what you think could be done to improve upon it?
Well, a few of us actually had the pleasure of joining Scott Ross on the pilot review show yesterday, and we played in the new STF Counterpoint on Tribble. Essentially what it is there's an incursion from the mirror universe, and you have to protect DS9, and surprise, the station Terek Nor from the mirror universe pops up, and there's some things that you got to do there. So we had a lot of fun doing that. I believe there is about 2 or 3 playthrough videos going on right now. The guys here don't know this yet, but I'm just trying to pick the music, but I'm doing a cinematic video of this new STF, which I've been working on all day. Yeah, the STF itself was a lot of fun. We played it on Advanced and Elite. Before I get to what I think could be what the developer should capitalize on for Season 11, what did you all think of the new STF?
I've actually yet to play it. The reviews that I've read and things like that, everything I've managed to catch, has been, at least from what I've read, largely positive. People like definitely the appearance changes as well.
I personally liked it. It was definitely a nice change of pace. It didn't feel like there was too much downtime. It felt like it was incorporating elements of old mirror invasions with something new and a different mechanic. Even though it's in its simplicity, it still was complex enough on elite mode where we actually had to coordinate with it. And I'm sure over time we'll be able to coordinate. We know what roles we're going to do. Let's do it and be done with it. But there's still enough going on that you actually have to start thinking, okay, we're going to do this here. Now we got to clean this up here. Now we got to do this here. Now we got to clean this up here. Now we got to play defensive. Now we got to go offensive. There's enough changing. It's almost like a staccato meets a waltz meets the tango. So we're changing dances constantly, and it keeps the brain stimulated. And I like that. I like that about missions. I want to see a difficulty factor that's not impossible, but challenges the player on any level of play. And I feel this one is near perfect in doing that without being overboard.
I have to agree.
Not by adding HP to make it harder, which is great.
Exactly. And I will say this to the kinetic community out there, and a little bit towards the Gunship Guild as well. You're going to pay a penalty for getting up too close. And your torpedoes better be juiced up beyond all recognition before you handle all that mess, especially AoE. You're not going to say, oh, I'm going to sit here and blast things out and be done with it. No, not this one. I enjoyed it.
2 words, bounce back.
Yeah, that was... I loved the mission. I have been waiting for something Mirror Universe content related in a long time, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing those runs. And that's something that we first noticed when I was running my kinetic ship on the Advanced. When it hits a certain mode, it hits its regeneration mode, it will reflect weapons back at you. And nothing is more scary than when you do a high yield 3 enhanced biomolecular with Chemocyte, and it gets reflected back at you and one-shots you. Nothing is scarier.
That thing's nasty. Really nasty. Good job.
So going on to the things that I think that I would like to see the developers capitalize on for Season 11 in terms of the Mirror Universe, I'd like to see them swap out the Borg red alerts, either all of them or some of them, and exchange them for a mirror incursion red alert. I haven't heard anything about really like a new reputation. Probably is, but who knows? But I know that there's a lot of new players who rely on the Borg red alerts for Omega marks, so maybe leave the mirror incursion red alerts as pick whatever marks you want. But that would be a really cool thing to see, to add immersion to our Star Trek universe. And another thing that I kind of like, because I actually enjoyed the previous 2 mirror events that they did with, there was the old one with the big station and mounds and mounds of ships, and then there was the one where you actually had to protect the station. But I kind of like to see them bring those back as possible STFs. Maybe change the setting to like replace the station that they use in those maps with the shipyards in Bajor. It's called the Antares shipyards. Maybe the Mirror Universe is coming to our universe to try and steal ships from us because they got to deal with their own Iconian threat. Who knows? But those are 2 big things that I'd really like to see the developers put into the game for Season 11 in terms of Mirror Universe.
And some of the things that we had discussed with Tumor Boy and Zeronius Rex and a couple others on the Reddit forums about having different events where, all right, to be safe, we'll instance them, but you feel like it's happening where you're shopping at the exchange, or where you're going to mail, or where you have social events. You feel like something's happening, and you have the option to join in and do something about it, or stay out. And while not necessarily watch it, if it's instance, you at least know something is going on there. So something like that would actually be very nice if you can include it in, especially for Season 11, because then you feel like there's some sort of urgency to it, and that adds to not only the immersion, but the excitement of the game itself.
Yeah, at the very least in the space. I can't remember what they said exactly about adding it on the space station. Which game was it before? Was it City of Heroes or?
City of Heroes, yes.
Yeah.
They actually had a couple areas where they actually had events happen in the cities that you go through. Like you would have normal mobs there, or near areas where people would congregate, and then suddenly something would happen, and they would show up, and you would have to deal with it or deal with the consequences.
Yeah. So the Starbase thing would be cool too, but I would like at the very least space stuff that would definitely add to the feel of, hey, Mirror Universe is knocking at our door here.
And I'll mention Kylie in our comments. Iconian red alerts were something we were looking for, and I think the call out went for them too late.
Yeah.
Because that was something we were really looking forward to for immersion, because we didn't want them just in sector space. We wanted them on ESD. We wanted them on Kronos, Ryza. We wanted it, if we're going to be in that kind of a war, we want it everywhere, just like it should be. And more than likely, with them trying to finish up the Iconian War so they can move to Season 11, kind of just finish off this, they probably didn't want to spend much time on it, and that kind of coding probably takes a long time to write out and implement. So that might have been why it didn't show up with the Iconians. But with Season 11, I think they're going to have much more time to do. So I agree with Alan. I love to see Mirror Universe queues show up randomly in sector space or at ESD, where you have to join in and join the fight.
Also, please add a zip line in Ryza Resort. Thank you.
Oh, you're never going to let that one go, are you?
No, I'm not. That would have been... Dude, you have no idea how many people... As soon as that mechanic was introduced in one of the feature episodes with Harry Kim, everybody... it's like, oh my god, you get the zip line. Like, it was so cool, I actually put it in one of my fleet trailers. Like, it was just... I had to get that in there. Like, oh god.
You hear that, guys? More zipline.
All right, somebody settle down the RP hologram right there. I mean, seriously, redo it. It's all good. So we're going to move on here and continue on something that we had started on the show. Luke Critter had brought up. Our chief engineer, Vel, at Jarvis and Alfred, have posted on the forums. And we're continuing on again because we keep getting user submission and user feedback on this. Things that you would pay Zill or Den, or Zill or Den. There you go. It's been a long day, folks. Zill or Den for, because you know it. There you go. What would you pay Zill or Den for? Because Den or Zill makes no sense, but Dill or Zen
That was Babby.
I would like more gravel in my coffee, please. Thank you very much. Hold the poutine. Anyway. What would you pay Zill or Den for? Because Dill or Zen seriously does not make sense to me right now. And one of the users out there who submitted an idea would be like, well, could we make respecs cheaper? That way, if they want to change their build to do something else on the tune that they enjoy with the massive resources they have there, they could do it back and forth and back and forth. Or if you pay, 2,000 Zen, you could respect an infinite amount of times. Do that. One-time payment, 2,000 Zen, respect infinite amount of times. Or 50 Zen per respec. How about that? Is that too harsh? Price too harsh?
I'd do that in a heartbeat. It would make it'd make your tunes more versatile. That way you wouldn't have to create a tune for each build. You'd be able to respec a lot easier, and then all your builds could be on one tune.
They've already moved in that way too by letting us freely retreat and things like that. It would just be another logical progression.
It would. Some other items that he had. By the way, this person here, I don't know if he wanted me to credit it or not, but Zengu, thank you for these ideas. And these were echoed by other people, but he pretty much summarized them all in a nice, neat package. One other thing here. To bypass a lot of the hacked accounts giving away material to another account for them to sell, after you've been on somebody's friends list for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, that sort of thing, you're able to buy items from the Zen store and gift it to them. I mean, it's great, that we could have, gifted something from the Zen store to our chief ironic medical officer here, because it was his birthday yesterday. So people, buy him a Krenum ship.
Oh, God.
Because it's his birthday. So it would have been nice.
It's only like 700 million.
Yeah, who
Jesus
cares?
Christ, the exchange doesn't even go up that high.
Who cares? Who cares? You know what? We'll get you one because it's your birthday. So
Cynical.
exactly. So we would have been nice to be able to go, to the Zen store and buy you a 20-pack of these DOFs to pop open, and you get 1 or 2 ships. By the way, I get the second one. It would have been nice to be able to do something like that. Well, all right, you could already do that right now, but I'm talking about something else like a ship or other items that is just bound to your account. Have it so that after you've already been quote-unquote vetted for like 2 weeks or something like that, you can give this item to somebody else.
Yeah, account in good standing. You have more freedoms and things like that than you would as a quote unquote trial or provisional member. I mean, that's a great idea, and it's win-win because it makes money. It makes money for Cryptic. More money because more people will be buying things to gift them.
Exactly. Something else on here, a token to buy the ship trait that is out there. So you don't want the ship, but you want the ship trait. Well, here's a reduced price for you. Buy the ship trait itself. Something like that, and then pay a bigger price to make the ship traits account wide instead of just tune unlock itself.
Agreed 1,000%.
I would pay dilithium to have a zip line in my starbase. More zip line.
You know what? Yeah, that'd be good from the bartender all the way down to the armory.
Yes, or to the tailor.
To the army, man, to the armory. Because when I was ziplining all the way down, I want to grab a gun quickly, just in case there's a mirror invasion going on in your starbase.
Yes.
See what I did there? Anyway, anybody else have anything that you want to discuss here before we wrap up?
Test. Can you actually hear me?
Well,
yes.
About damn time, son. I thought you went for some more poutine and gravel.
Did you get the gravel out of your mouth?
No, the problem is my Hangouts window is really, really messed up, so it's kind of lagging behind severely. So, but good, it actually managed to catch up with the audio. Just a couple of questions going back a little bit. Someone said that the patch notes for Holodeck have been released.
Yes, that was this one here where they Star Trek Online release notes, September 3rd, 2015. That's the one with the neutronic torpedo being nerfed to hell?
Yeah, okay. Question is, do they mention the new featured episode?
No.
That's a negative. Negative on the new episode.
Ooh.
See, I'm kind of surprised. I was expecting some devlogs.
They did mention that Butterfly is now no longer an FE, so that's done with. But there is no new FE yet.
And okay, so it's weird. I'm expecting a new FE, and I'm expecting some new ships as well, because it's been a while since they've released a new ship.
We might see a new ship tomorrow. I don't know.
It's possible. I guess Trendy's on vacation and not doing blogs, so
right.
Everyone's forgotten to release their blogs, or they might be just late blogs that are showing up tomorrow.
Well, aren't they? Go on.
I was just going to say, I'd put Zen on next week, Thursday.
Yeah, weren't they extending the promo packs for another week?
No, the promo packs end tomorrow.
Okay,
that's the extension.
An important point that someone also made regarding the promo packs, I guess if you buy them now, they will retain their promo status after the promotion is over.
Yes.
So you all know. You can buy them and then sock them away.
All right, want to trade EPS consoles for promo packs? Please tell at Old Night.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is STO Combat Meter is finally live. It's out of beta, and there is a Mac client for it as well. So if you guys want to test it out, it's probably one of the best parsers out there for STO.
Mac compatible. Now you're just making stuff up.
No, it's got a wine wrapper on it. It works nicely.
Yes, indeed. So I am going to drop the link for you, Odin. Give me a sec.
No problem. I already have the link on there anyway. We link it to the website that they have for it, so
We
we'll
definitely
push it
want
out.
feedback from our Mac users. That means you, Zooey.
Yeah, all 5 of them.
Hey,
Anyway,
well, I
no.
know 1/5 of the Mac user base here. I'm powerful.
Look, when the Kinetic community outnumbers the Mac users by a factor of 3 to 1, yeah.
So are you saying that a torpedo using Mac user is the rarest type of STO player?
They are not only a special snowflake, they are the special snowflake.
They probably have AD negative
Statistically.
blood as well.
Something like that.
That's right.
I do want to bring up from our chat one last thing to add for the Dill Zen, and it's something we have talked about on the show before, worth mentioning again. People are still looking at the option of having to pay Zen to unlock Lobby or Logbox ships account-wide. People are still asking for that, because I've just seen one in the chat. So people are still interested on whether or not Cryptic will eventually do that. And I mean, Cryptic, people keep asking. You know, we'd love to have a response to that question.
Oh, also, when touching up on SCM, once you have it installed, that's the STO combat meter. Once you have it installed, every time you launch it, open it up again, it will check for an update and it will automatically update. So you don't have to worry about trying to keep it update by going somewhere else. It will automatically update. Feel free to check the domain if you're concerned about where it's coming from. It's right there in black and white. Full disclosure, I own the domain where it's coming from, where it's being updated. I volunteered.
If you're really worried about it, do a TCP and you can see where your computer's connecting to anyway. So.
Yes, please. And we put it up there just so people will know where it's updating from. That way you have full disclosure where it's updating from. I've volunteered my efforts in order to say, yes, we can host the file here and you can get the updates from it here. We're also storing the table there. It's robust. It's available for people to use in order to enjoy the game and see a couple aspects of the game here, so they can measure their own metrics and engage it so where they can not only do well as far as clearing the instances, but also do well as far as going into a more immersive experience within an STF and do enough to be able to do the content without overkilling it and actually enjoying the immersion effect.
Try the overlay view. It's rather nice. The little mini overlay view.
It's not an overlay view. That is actually its own parser.
Ah.
It's a parser within a parser? What?
Go dog. I heard you like parsers. Yeah, that little mini parser is actually its own real-time parser. It is coded so that it uses the least amount of resources possible. It's just there to show you your DPS, and that's it. So it has very minimal overhead and does not affect your, does not cause lag, basically.
Well, thank you for the insight on that as well. I thought it was just an overlay view myself.
The main parser itself is not a real-time parser, so you basically have to click analyze log every time for it to read the log. That's to also reduce resource costs. But yeah, if you want the real-time parser, the little mini one, it's its own separate piece of code.
And I also have some intel that our chief of cheesy tactics here has written frequently asked questions form/sheet in order to be able to answer some of the questions that people may have, as well as give them a step-by-step walkthrough on how to use that.
There's a guide with information on how to find your combat log, how to use a bunch of the functions within the parser. I would say definitely check it out.
Oh, let me just jump in here as well. One of the features of the of SCM is that it will find your combat log automatically. I believe that has been implemented. You install it, it will find your STO log by itself automatically.
And guys, learning how to parse yourself is, I mean, it's pretty trivial to set up the parser and start parsing yourself. And it's not. It really shouldn't be looked at as you parsing the team, finding out what the team DPS is. Really, you get a lot from data mining your own self parse. You can see what kind of peels you're throwing, what kind of damage you're doing over time, where it spikes, why it spikes. If stuff is malfunctioning, you can see bugs. That's how people notice bugs a lot of times, is by looking at their logs. So it's a very valuable experience to be able to parse yourself.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in, and for bearing with us as we sort out a couple technical difficulties.
Yay!
Yes. Thank you, everybody. I
See you
want to
next
say
week.
good night to you all. See you next week, because we have a couple special guests coming in next week and the week after. But most of all, if you have anything you want to say about something in the game, post it on the forums, post it in Reddit, post it in any social media. We'll look at it. We'll listen. We'll bring it up on the show if it's relevant. While we talk about our own opinions here, we like to be able to listen to the feedback from the community. So we welcome it, and we thank you for it. From everybody else here on the show, I bid you all good night and good trekking out there.
Good night.